All right. Good morning. My name is Rebecca Lee, and I co-wrote this book, The Mercury Detoxification Manual, with Andy Cutler, PhD. And today I'm talking with Vivian Woodruff. And Vivian lives in Alberta, Canada, and has lived there her whole life. She has 5 children and 15 grandchildren, and she turned 70 in November. And she's been chelating for 5 years and is currently on round 209. And she thinks her story is different because she didn't come into chelation with a whole lot of medical problems like most people, yet she's noticed huge changes in herself since she started doing it. So would start telling us your story, Vivian. What do you mean to say that? Yeah.
Okay, looking back, I am convinced now that I was toxic from birth. My mother had a mouthful of amalgams and cooked with aluminum her whole life. And like I say, looking back, as a child, I was very hyper. I've always been rather intense, determined. I think as a child, I probably would have been diagnosed at the very least with ADHD, but everybody just thought I was a busy kid, and I was. I did very well in school, very well in school, and had a great memory. I ended up with amalgams in most of my baby teeth. I loved candy, and my dad kind of spoiled me by giving me candy. And then as I grew older, the baby teeth left, amalgams were put into the permanent teeth, and I just went along. I've always been intense and determined, and as I grew older, I would throw myself into things just wholeheartedly, and even now I do that, but not nearly. Like I couldn't stop. I would be canning fruit as a young mother, and I couldn't stop. I had to have it all done, and even if it took till 3 o'clock in the morning, I was very. And now I'm so much more relaxed. My mother got dementia in her 60s, and
Right.
my sister was scared to death that that would happen to her. But my grandmother had breast cancer and went down to the States to work with Dr. Christopher, who was quite famous at the time for healing from cancer. And my grandmother, with his nutrition and protocol, she healed herself of cancer. And so she brought back very good nutritional protocols for her family. And my mother really embraced those. And so we ate very well, very healthily. And so I think that's one reason that I didn't really realize that I was toxic. As I grew older, I am musical. I play several instruments, and I could memorize things, and then, I didn't do things that would make things worse for the most part. I guess we can't mention certain things that can't be named, but
For those products that can't be named, you got
yeah, those products that can't be named. And as we began to travel, and probably in my 40s, I came to realize that I was reacting too intensely. I didn't, I would take offense fairly easily. And if my husband said something to me that I didn't like, I would retreat. I would just withdraw into myself, and I had a hard time letting go. And it was very hard on him. He kind of felt sometimes like he was walking on eggshells, I'm sure. And I became to realize that I needed to change. And so I tried many different things. I tried prayer and meditation. I tried in the last 10 years, I've tried energy healing. I've tried lots of different things because I didn't like things about myself. I also had some uh, physical things show up. For example, I had a chronic cough that started after some of those products that can't be named, and it started to get to the point where I was driving my husband crazy. I was coughing all the time, day and night, and so he said, "You've got to go see a doctor." And I had lots of tests. They put the camera down the throat, nothing could be found. I so I did, each protocol I tried, the energy healing and all the other different things, they made things a little better, but I never felt like I was getting to the root of the problem.
Oh, I felt too.
Yeah.
This
And
didn't stick.
and pardon?
The anything I do wouldn't stick. I'd sort of go back to where I was before as soon as you stop it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like two steps forward and one step back. So I did feel some progress, but it wasn't enough. A friend of mine somehow found the Facebook group, and she knew of my concerns and my struggles. And I think I seemed perfectly normal to everybody else, except people I really confided in. And she told me about the Andy Cutler chelation group on Facebook. And I looked into it, and it was like a light bulb went off. Like I just felt this joy, like I had found what I needed to find. And so I started getting my amalgams out. It was very expensive. We don't have insurance for dental. And so,
How many did you have? How many amalgams?
oh, probably 15.
Wow.
And yeah, I counted them up actually not long ago, and there was 15. Um, so I had a talk with my husband, and he wasn't really convinced at first, but he is amazing at supporting me. And so he said, "Okay, if this is what you want to do," he went through the energy healing, the whole thing. He's always been very supportive, and he said, "If that's what you want to do, that's what we'll do." So we went at it. I got them all taken out, and it took quite a few months. Luckily, I found a really good doctor that was SMART certified, and he was so good. He said, if you don't have insurance, you can have 10% off the cost. I think it cost altogether about $13,000 to get them all taken care of.
That's probably a reasonable price too.
Yeah, yeah, because this was 5 years ago or more, and he was fairly new in his practice, and yeah, he was very good, very good. Except it was funny because I told him that we had to have all the amalgam moved, absolutely all, and he says, "Oh, no worries, it's all gone." And I said, "Well, I'd like to have an X-ray to take to my group and have it checked." And he said, "Don't worry, it's all gone. I'm sure it's all gone." And so I found another dentist that would take some bite wings and put them on the group. And they said, "No, you have 3 specs." So I took that back to him, and he was kind of mortified, and went in because he had promised me, if there are specs, I will redo them for free. And so he went in and took care of those. And after that, he did the the procedures, the mid X-ray procedures, and was very, very careful and did bite wings at the very end so that I could put them on the group again. And I was totally amalgam free, which was a great day. And
You
4 days
trained
later.
you trained a
Pardon?
dentist. You
Oh,
trained.
yes, yes. He told me that I had changed the way he did removals, amalgam removals, because that's what he specialized in. But I don't think he was too worried about little tiny specks. But I said, no, they all have to be gone, or I'm going to be in trouble. So I started chelating 4 days after that. It's really strange because I just absolutely knew that that was the problem. And I could see progress made fairly quickly. My dump came almost exactly 4 months after I started chelating, lasted almost exactly 4 months. I was super tired during it, but was able to do everything I really had to do, which was great.
Maybe we should explain to people what the dump phase is here, you know, what it means.
Okay, would you like to explain or would you like me to explain?
Well, it comes in, it hits you like mercury is like the only thing, only poison that when you detox, you start detoxing it, you go through a period of when you feel better after you get your teeth remedy, and then you have a period where you feel bad again for a while, and then you start feeling good again. I think that's a good enough explanation, or would you like to add something more technical to that?
No, that's a good explanation. Yeah, you get rid of the mercury in your blood, and then it starts coming out of all the organs. And um, yeah, I was very lucky because some people have a much worse dump than I did. I realized that a lot of I realized that I'd been running on adrenaline for most of my life, and my adrenals were in really bad shape. And so one of the biggest things that helped me throughout my chelation, and especially through the dump, was taking lots of adrenal support, and that was huge. I also have never been much of a sleeper, and treating my adrenals helped that. Things started going away that I didn't realize were a problem. I would get bad earaches in the wind, especially if it was a chilly wind, and that's gone away. I don't get earaches. I used to have to stuff my ears with Kleenex pretty much every time I went out in the wind. Southern Alberta is very windy, so we lived in Southern Alberta, then Northern Alberta, then now we're kind of in the middle, and I don't worry about that anymore unless it's a really cold wind, and then I take some Kleenex in my pocket just in case. But that's gone. I also had got frozen shoulder. We moved out onto an acreage and built our own house, and I got frozen shoulder, and it was very painful to get rid of that. But my muscles aren't a problem anymore. I would have, muscle problems, and that was one of them. But they aren't a problem anymore. They get tired and they get sore, but nothing bad. Trying to think what else. There's just so many things. My cough has pretty much gone. I'm a little phlegmy sometimes in the morning, and I have to cough to clear things, but I don't cough all night like I used to. I don't react. I used to, when something would come up, someone would ask me to do something, my first instinct was to have a negative reaction. I don't do that anymore. If somebody asks me to do it, I say, sure, no problem. Unless there's really, really a problem. I don't react in anger, or sometimes I would hardly speak to my husband for days just because I could not release the negative feelings, and it wasn't even negative feelings anymore. It would just I'd hold on to things, and I don't do that anymore. My husband and I were talking the other night, and he agrees. I'm a different person now. I'm so much more easygoing. Even 2 years ago, when our grandkids would come, I would be so uptight and so stressed. And we had a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old with us for almost 2 weeks, and it was easy. I didn't get a whole lot of sleep, but I just wasn't so stressed. We had fun with them. It was great. It was a good visit. I'm trying to think of, there's so many things. Oh, I couldn't handle chelating for lead at first. It took me about 18 months before I could handle the DMSA. And since then, I had a bunion that I had special insoles for a long time, and then I finally gave that up because the insoles were hurting my feet. But the bunion is probably 75 to 80% gone now, and I'm sure that was
So you were exposed to lead too in all of this?
Oh, as a child, I'm sure there was lead in everything back then. The lead didn't show up on my hair test, but I just thought I would try chelating for it because as a child there was so much lead.
Lead, yeah.
Oh, and mercury, I played with mercury from a broken thermometer when I was a kid, plus all the amalgams, plus I'm sure I was around when a fluorescent light bulb was broken. Just yeah, but lead. I loved the smell of gas, and I didn't smell it at all. I knew a young man though who was always smelling the gas. He died. He as a teenager because he would open the gas cap on the car and sniff the
Was lead
leaded
that
gasoline.
really?
Yeah, yeah. So I like that smell. I didn't specifically go for it, but I just figured lead was in everything, so I might as well try. And I tried near the beginning and just couldn't handle it. It flared up too
Yeast?
much yeast and oh, that was another thing that really. So I play the clarinet and my daughter plays the trombone, and we went with our community marching band to China for just over 2 weeks, right around the time of the Beijing Olympics. And I came home and I was so sick. I'd had to get some of those products to be able to go, or at least I was told I had to. And when I got home, I just thought I had drank some bad water or something there. But looking back, I think probably it was a combination of things that happened. But I was sick for probably 4 months after we got home, and ended up taking lots of yeast meds and antibiotics, and got shingles.
Something hit you hard
Yeah, yeah. And I think the mercury had just depressed my immune system.
from those products that time.
Yes.
This was
Yeah.
before you started chelating.
Yeah. When I started chelating, well, I don't have any, like now I can take DMSA. I don't have to worry about yeast at all. Um, so I've been taking them for about 3.5 years. And yeah, my knuckles, the doctors told me I was getting arthritis, and
Knuckles.
my knuckles have gone down. Yours too, eh?
And well, I've got friends who are the same age as I am, or 75, and they don't have hands like that. Like,
Yeah, me too. I mean, I can play the piano. I
yeah,
can, yeah. My memory got kind of bad there. Well, not really bad, but it kind of bad. And now I like to I play the ukulele and I like to sing funny songs, and I would entertain sometimes and do funny readings and stuff like that. And I had to practice and practice and practice, and I was always afraid I'd forget the words. And now I just remember the song. I don't have any problem anymore with that, and that's kind of fun. I just stopped doing it for a long time, and lately I did all those songs for a friend he had ALS and was near the end, and yeah, I could remember all the songs. It was really fun. It was really fun. Let's see, what else? I should look in my notes. There's so many things that
change.
that changed. I'm just so much happier and more easygoing and confident. I've thought back, and I'm sure my mother was terribly mercury toxic.
Dementia, you said she got
Yeah,
dementia.
she got dementia, and that was actually, she got one of those products and got very, very sick. We went to Europe, and they told her she had to protect herself from smallpox. I didn't have to do that one, thank goodness, because I had eczema, which also has gone.
Yeah.
I had eczema, and the kind I had, they said that wouldn't be safe for you to take it. And but she got like a high fever after, and that's I think things. It was like the perfect storm between the mercury, and no matter how well she ate, there was just only so much she could do, and that's her. The dementia showed up right after.
How old was she when she died?
She actually lived for a long time after that. She was 80 in her 80s, but she spent over 12 years in a nursing home, and before that, my dad took care of her for many years on his until he finally had a heart attack from the stress. And yeah, so but I also, another thing that I also had to have everything validated. Like I would say something or do something, and I'd say to my husband, right? Right? And now I rarely do that. I'm more confident in myself. Oh, just so many things that I can't remember half of them now. I wrote down a list of things that had changed, and I'm sure there was 35 or 40 things on the list that I
That was for
didn't
me.
realize. Yeah, the lunas are starting to come back on my fingernails.
I
They
haven't,
were,
they're still not there.
no, mine are just on on 3 or 4 of my fingers, they're just peeking out now.
They probably
And
disappear like that. Yeah.
yeah, the thumb ones are there, but they were much bigger, and now they've gotten smaller, and the ones on my fingers are starting to come. So that's kind of made me feel good.
So are you still at it? Are you still chelating?
Yes. Yep, I am currently on round right now. I've cut it down because I think the lead usually takes 5 to 7 years, right?
It takes a long time.
Time.
I mean, because it has to come out of your bones and it's going to do
Yeah,
it.
so I've decided I'm going to keep chelating until my bunion is totally gone and my knuckles are totally
That's your
back to the
method.
right size.
Your
So
knuckles again?
I've gone down to 2 rounds a month, 1 round just ALA and 1 round ALA DMSA. And I think I'll probably do that for, I'm not sure how long, but probably at least another 2 or 3 years. My goal is to get to 250 rounds, and if I only do 2 a month, then that'll probably take me another 2 years or close to it. So I think I'll probably go to my 7 year chelation starting anniversary, and then just see. We'll see. It's much easier to 2 times a month. And also, I found that I must have had a very fast metabolism because I was chelating at 2.5 hours, and now I've gone to 3 hours, and I'm just fine.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and it's much easier every 3 hours. Easier to remember the times,
I just
easier to do it.
get upset.
Yeah. So I don't know.
So,
I enjoy my life much better now.
well, I think that's a really interesting story because I think there's a lot of people out there who would benefit from doing this and just think that a lot of things are just the way they are. And a lot
Yeah.
of subtle personality things are just the way they are. When you look around yourself at the people in your environment, what do you think? Do you think that there's a lot of mercury poisoning out there?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I can see it in my children, but they're not at all interested. They just think they're fine. And it was like me. I felt I was one of the healthiest people around. I could go longer and harder than, most people I knew. And I see that in my kids, and I wish they would chelate. They can see a difference in me, but they're fine. They feel they're fine.
They probably are fine. And when the time comes, they may
Yeah.
decide to do it. Yeah.
But at least none of them have amalgams. Some of them had them when they were younger, but they've all gotten rid of them, so that's good. They haven't been checked for specs, but they don't have the big ones anyway.
At least they don't have 13 amalgams
Yeah.
constantly poisoning them. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, another thing, and I haven't checked. I've always had a very bad reaction to caffeine of any kind. And I've heard that that is can be a mercury symptom. I I I had to drive from Edmonton, where I was going to university, down to my home, which was a 6-hour drive. And so I took a little wake up pill because I just finished final exams and I was so tired. I was awake for 3 days. I couldn't go to sleep. And so, and I find, so I don't touch caffeine at all. Haven't for since, yeah, but I've never drank coffee or anything. So it hasn't been that hard to avoid it. But my husband does like a Coke once in a while, and I can't. I could take a little sip, but that's it.
You're still pretty sensitive. Were you sensitive to thiols? Did you find?
Oh, terribly. But I didn't know I was. I mean, I may have been before I started chelating, but somebody recommended that I take NAC for a cold, and I took that, and boom, I was just deadly thiol sensitive. It was awful. I couldn't eat anything. And now I can eat most everything as long as I don't overdo it. Or if there's a thiol that I haven't had since I quit them, then it will affect me sometimes. But for the most part, I can have pretty much anything now. Like yesterday, I had chocolate. Chocolate was my worst trigger. Yesterday, I had chocolate, and it didn't bother me at all. I slept fine. It would give me frequent urination, bad sleeping, stomach problems, irritability, and now that's pretty much gone, which I'm very thankful for. So,
The mercury certainly gives people a wide range of odd things.
yes,
Everybody's
yes.
different, and yeah, but sensitivity to foods is
Well,
a
one thing I've noticed since I've been chelating this long is I used to, back in the day, used to eat anything and everything. And now I can tell when my body does not like something unhealthy. I'll eat something that's not really good for me, and I can feel it. Whereas I didn't have that sensitivity before. But I can tell now, no, I probably shouldn't eat that because it's not good for me, because I can tell that it doesn't make me feel good.
like Andy used to say, because you're often attracted to the foods that are bad for you. He used to say, put your attention onto what that's going to do to you instead of
Mhm.
thinking about what it's going to feel like when you eat it. Yum yum, but
Yeah.
what it's going to feel like afterwards. Yeah. But I do think that you become more sensitive. You become more intelligent. Your body becomes more intelligent as you get older. Um, because when you look at young people, they can just scarf down anything, nothing happens. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really funny because when I turned 60, it didn't bother me at all. But then with chelating and everything, when I turned 70, I thought, no, I feel better than when I was 60. This is not fair to have that number. But it's just a number, right?
Yeah, I guess. Sometimes I
I
think
keep telling myself that anyway.
at 3 years of COVID, like I went from being just a number to, wait a second, now I'm old. I'm an old person now. Or you can say an elder. I think that it has a lot of certain distinction to being, you can say, I'm an elder. I'm an elder now.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I feel that I'm a lot better shape than most people my age, you know.
Yes, I see that too. I am on absolutely no medications for anything, which my doctor called me in a few months ago and said, so what medications are you on? I said, none. She
None.
said, none.
So what?
And she asked me that 3 times while I was there. Are you sure you're not on anything? I said, well, I take supplements, but you're not on any medications? Nope. She was really shocked. I said, I'm unusual. And she said, yes, but good unusual.
whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Yeah, my doctor, who I really loved, but who's retired, alas, used to say, I think you're doing an excellent job with your health. And that's what you like to hear from a doctor, a little
Yeah.
encouragement rather than,
Yeah. Yes, that's yeah, I feel really good. I chelation is one of the best things I've ever done. My relationships with other people are much better. I'm just calmer and more relaxed, and I still I still go into things in a big way, but I can stop when I need to stop. I don't have to, I'm not so intense. I'm not so,
that adrenaline running the whole show.
yes, yes. Yeah, yeah, that was not good. I still take lots of adrenal support because I don't think my adrenals are totally
Yeah.
healed yet.
Think mine have never ever recovered or ever will. I think I just am stuck with supporting them like I mean,
Oh, do you still take lots of adrenal support?
yeah, I actually take hydrocortisone. I need that. Yeah.
Yeah, I just take the thorn adrenal cortex.
Yeah,
But
I take a bunch of that too. Every time I feel like I'm sort of gonna flagging and or else I'm gonna do something that requires energy, I'll take some of this foreign adrenal cortex. But I have like a like a I take about 15 milligrams of hydrocortisone a day, you know.
I've
So
never tried that. I was always able to find the relief I needed with the adrenal cortex, so I've never tried the hydrocortisone.
well, I don't think you need it. It sounds like, like when I said, well, I'm going off to play golf, or I've got to do this, or I'm taking care of
Oh.
grandchildren or something, like sounds like your adrenals are.
Yeah, they're doing pretty good, and I was taking them. I was up to probably 25 a day, and now I take.
25 of those thorn capsules a day. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, you could have tried the hydrocortisone, but it's better if you don't.
Yeah,
25,
is it?
but a goodly
Yeah.
amount, expensive too. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and the thorn is getting really expensive, but I still take about 10 a day. Just
Good man.
but and for a long time I would wake up in the night and I would take some.
And it
It
would
would
make
help
you
me
go back to
to sleep.
sleep.
Yeah.
That was a big revelation to me when Andy said that anxiety and insomnia that I suffered from a lot was adrenal related. What?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. He didn't even talk about it much because I guess he kind of assumed everybody knows that. No,
Yeah.
I didn't even know what the adrenals were. I never heard of them. I never heard
Yeah.
of adrenals.
Yeah, I got to the point at one point in my life that I was having panic attacks. This was before I started chelating, and I
Yeah,
would have. I never knew what they were before, but I would have them, and now I never.
I get close to that. That's pretty horrible. A panic attack is like worse than physical pain.
Yeah, but that didn't last long, thankfully. Yeah, I was in a situation where it was very stressful, and um, but once I started having them, they lessened and they were not as severe. But I kept having them, slight ones, and but now I don't have any. Since chelating, I don't have any, so that's great. I still can get stressed,
Who doesn't?
but I realize what's happening now, and I take a couple of adrenal cortex, and that helps. And yeah, so life is good. Life is really good.
That's a great story, and I think it's helpful for people who, because there's a lot of people that it's true that are into improving their health and they're doing all these different things. Maybe they have a few things that worry them and they don't know about doing this, which is like foundational thing you can do.
Yes, I've started saying, you know, there's so many times we have problems that we would like to fix, but we don't have the tools. And this has been a tool that has just changed my life.
Is there anything else you'd like to talk about here? Or go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I joined the group not long after Andy passed away, and I would have loved to have interacted with him. He has saved my life, maybe not physically, but mentally and emotionally, I feel like he saved my life. I love life now. And I always thought I did, but I never really knew. I never really knew. Like, I thought I was fine. And now I'm way better than fine.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people going around thinking they have had childhood trauma, where actually what they had was too many amalgams and a couple too many of those products.
Yes. Well, and that's another thing too. My dad, when he was young, got bucked off a horse, and it damaged his spine, and he had 17 major back surgeries and many other minors. And one of his surgeries, the doctor ended up being kicked out of the profession because of what he did to my dad. He let pieces of bone in. He left the spine crooked with pressure on the main nerve. So my dad was never out of pain ever. And I think I am empathic to some degree, and I took on his trauma and had to be the good little girl all the time because I couldn't be a problem for my dad.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I think, I'm sure he had amalgams too.
Those are real things. I mean, but those are real things we have to deal with. What did you
Yes.
say about that? Andy said that I never fully understand so what he meant, but he said that you can, when you have childhood trauma and trauma, that you're never going to get over it if you're toxic because you keep being re-traumatized.
Yes.
We-
Oh, that's profound. And I think that's true. Yeah, because yeah. And you have to have that tool. And the tool of chelation is, man, it's powerful, very
stuff.
powerful. Oh, and one last thing.
Okay.
I've always had wavy hair. Since I've started chelating, my hair has gotten so curly. I've always had thick hair, but my hair is so healthy and curly and it's fun. I had to learn to deal with curly hair, but it happened right during COVID, so it was something to distract me. It was fun.
That's all very interesting, like an old, very strange and wonderful.
Yeah.
And I think that is there anything else you'd like to add
Oh, I'll probably think of other things later, but no, I don't think so. That's pretty much the story. It's just something that people should consider, even just trying. If once get amalgam free and just trial some chelation and just see what it does, because
just give it you got nothing to lose. Like this guy, this guy who texted me, he was scared that it was going to make him sick to do it because he goes on to the Facebook group and everybody's so sick. And I said, got to understand, they were really sick to start out,
yeah,
and this isn't making them more sick. It's just that they're dealing with, they were already like that. Whereas if you
yeah,
start off in good shape, it's not going to, and if you chelate properly, you don't overdo it and get too kamikaze about it, it's a pretty much a straight shot.
yes, and the people that are are over or have finished chelating or well on in the process, they don't hang out on the Facebook page.
No, they
You
don't. Yeah, they don't hang out there and complain and weep and
know,
wail, which, yep. There's
yeah,
just a few of us like you and me that they're still there trying to help them out.
yeah, and I'm not there as much as I'd like helping because my life has gotten so busy. Yeah, but I try and go on when I can, and I like to feel like I'm helping people for sure. But
Yes.
I do a lot of, like, I have a friend that has daughters that has some real health problems, and I go help her every week and different things. So I keep busy.
All right then. Well, thank you for talking to me.
Oh, no problem. I thought maybe my story being a little different might help some people. I hope so.
Yeah, I think I said I think you accumulated some merit here.